Cheon Du-woon finds a beautiful, vibrant patch of yellow flowers blooming under a bright blue sky. He takes in the fresh, clear air of the dense forest, enjoying the distant sound of a waterfall. After walking 10 minutes into the valley, he resolves to start constructing his new home. Looking up with a satisfied smile, he envisions the future Cheon Du-woon residence. Harnessing his magical golden strings, he prepares to clear a suitable building site. He launches a powerful energy slash that cleanly slices through a massive tree trunk. The giant tree collapses to the forest floor with a massive, echoing crash. Du-woon surveys the newly cleared clearing and decides the space is perfect. Using his telekinetic threads, he easily floats the logs to separate the high-quality wood. He looks over the site and notes that the uneven ground will need some leveling. With a massive heave, he pulls his energy ropes to rip away the remaining roots and flatten the dirt. The dusty air clears to reveal a bright, wide-open view of the mountains. He finds a sunny patch of grass that will receive excellent natural light for his garden. Placing his bare hand on the wood, he lets his natural instincts guide his movements. He easily hoists a massive wooden pillar over his shoulder with just one hand. He slams the heavy support pillars deep into the ground to secure the house's foundation. Laying down the floor planks one by one, he thoroughly enjoys the process of building his own home. Lacking iron nails, he decides to use sticky green snail monster mucus as an adhesive for the walls. He coats the wooden frame of his shelter with sticky monster mucus to ensure it becomes as solid as rock. With the final touches underway, glowing energy lines seal the structure under a bright blue sky. He stands proudly with hands on his hips, confident that the barrier will deter any approaching beasts. A dark, ominous energy erupts violently, shattering the quiet atmosphere. Looking at his completed shelter wrapped in silkworm cocoon silk, he wonders what a normal human house is missing. He recalls an old presentation showing how pre-apocalypse human houses used to look. In those old educational videos, families played with dogs in front of beautiful green yards. But raising a normal dog in the dangerous demon realm is simply not an option. He kneels down to examine the grass, pondering what kind of garden plants could possibly survive here. An idea suddenly strikes him, causing his eyes to widen with excitement. Looking toward the distant snowy peaks, he wonders if he should harvest and plant a mandragora. A fierce blizzard sweeps across the steep, snow-covered mountain ridges. He treks through the deep snow, heading toward the high Manna peaks where mandragoras grow. The biting wind and heavy snowfall continue to pelt him as he ascends higher. The bitter cold triggers painful memories of the day he was kidnapped. He recalls freezing to death before being transformed into a chimera, a modification that now protects him from the cold. He senses the dense manna nearby and notices the heavy storm finally starting to clear. Reaching the summit, he spots green leaves poking through the snow and smiles at his successful search. He carefully observes the mandragoras, knowing these fragile creatures can die from even the slightest environmental stress. Seeking younger and more adaptable roots to relocate, he carefully selects a small specimen on the snow. Bracing himself for a deafening mandragora scream, he forcibly pulls the root out of the frozen ground. Instead of a fatal shriek, the tiny creature lets out a soft, adorable squeak in his hand. He pulls a second one out, only for it to emit the same peaceful, gentle noise. Curious, he gently extracts a third root, which responds with a happy, sleepy murmur. Confused by their lack of aggression, he wonders what could possibly be happening with them. The tiny creatures cuddle comfortably in his palms, appearing to be fast asleep and murmuring happily. He recalls that human-world mandragoras normally scream and perish under the immense stress of forced extraction. These roots show no sign of resistance, remaining completely relaxed instead of desperately trying to escape. He realizes they feel a natural kinship because mandragora cells are already integrated into his own body. Relieved by their lack of stress, he safely tucks the little creatures into his rope belt. He smiles, imagining a future where they grow well enough to share root tendrils for brewing tea. But he reminds himself that forcibly picked fruits become poisonous, meaning he must gain their trust first. Suddenly, desperate screams echo across the snowy peaks, signaling that hunters are nearby in serious trouble. Intrigued by their presence, he decides to head toward the noise to quickly secure some gate stones. Nearby, two abandoned hunters curse their teammates who use them as bait to escape. Vicious, beastly monsters leap through the air to finish off the vulnerable hunters. A terrifying predator with a wide mouth and tentacle-like tongue lunges forward to attack. One of the hunters desperately deploys a hexagonal magic shield to block the relentless assault. Trembling with fear and physical strain, the hunter struggles to keep the cracking barrier alive. A desperate hunter struggles to hold up his magical blue barrier as vicious, horned beast rabbits aggressively swarm him. He quickly regrets not sticking to easy odd jobs, as bright blue cracks begin spiderwebbing directly across the barrier in front of his face. As the structure buckles, he panics and curses his decision to volunteer for a hunt targeting a dangerous chimera. The magical defense shatters completely, leaving him screaming in terror as a bloodthirsty beast leaps straight for him. Suddenly, a swift and powerful energy slashed tears through the air, cleaving the attacking monster cleanly in half. A massive, blinding explosion of smoke and shockwaves erupts across the battlefield, scattering debris everywhere. As the smoke begins to settle, two injured hunters sitting in the snow look up in utter confusion, wondering what just saved them. Through the heavy haze, they spot the distinct silhouette of a mysterious person standing in the distance. Cheon Dawoon calmly steps out from the rising dust cloud, looking completely unbothered by the chaos around him. The remaining horned beasts growl menacingly, but a massive, terrifying red aura suddenly manifests behind Dawoon, instantly paralyzing them with fear. Overwhelmed by his murderous intent, the entire pack of monsters abruptly turns tail and scrambles to escape. The two hunters stare in absolute disbelief that a group of B-class monsters would flee in pure panic just from seeing one man. With the threat gone, a single water droplet falls from a blade of grass, as one of the relieved hunters voices his gratitude. The survivors introduce themselves as Kim Tae-hoon and Oh Song-ju before asking the stranger for his name, to which he replies Cheon Dawoon. Tae-hoon tries to place the unfamiliar name and wonders why someone dressed so poorly is wandering a deadly snowy mountain, only for Dawoon to reply that he is just here for the money. Dawoon listens quietly as Tae-hoon explains that a high-paying request to capture an escaped chimera alive was recently posted. Tae-hoon mentions that the target is a machine creature that escaped a laboratory, making Dawoon realize that nobody is searching for him. Relieved by this realization, Dawoon decides his best option is to locate the gate stone and quietly make his exit. When Dawoon asks about their supplies, the two hunters dejectedly explain that their cowardly teammates stole all their bags and ran off. A hunter clutches his bleeding shoulder in agony, realizing they have been betrayed from the very start. He recalls how a B-class hunter deceptively invited them to join, only to leave them behind to die. With their limits reached, the injured hunters beg their powerful ally to lead them back to safety. The system explains that a hunter's survival time in the harsh demon realm depends entirely on their awakening grade. Without high resistance, the dark mana of this world slowly corrupts and destroys a normal human body. Desperate to return to his pregnant wife, the hunter pleads for help while Cheon Dawoon senses a new target. Ignoring their desperate cries, the powerful warrior launches himself into the air and leaves them behind. The abandoned hunters scream out in shock, watching him fly away into the snowy sky. Their voices fade into the cold wind as they beg to be saved from the deadly frost. Nearby, a small robot with glowing yellow eyes stands silently, surveying the frozen wilderness. Scanning the snowy terrain from a cliff, the machine determines that the environment is extremely hazardous. Suddenly, a group of hostile hunters spots the machine and decides to capture it immediately. The aggressive hunters charge forward with their shields raised, calling for an immediate attack. Sensing the incoming danger, the robot's eyes glow a bright crimson as its internal systems surge with energy. The combat interface flashes a bright red system warning with a single directive: eliminate. The hunters leap high into the air, descending on the machine with their weapons drawn. The squad of armed warriors charges ahead blindly, determined to crush the metallic threat. Sparks of red electricity crackle around the robot's head as it processes the hostile targets. The red warning light blares once more within its central database, confirming the elimination order. The warriors strike in unison from all directions, clashing violently with the defensive machine. A dark-haired young man looks down thoughtfully with a serious expression against a dark, purple glowing background.